Hello. My name is Ethan. I'm 23, and I work as a software engineer for a small computer business just outside of town. Noah is one of my closest pals. We've been close ever since college and have stayed in contact throughout the years. But now, I'd like to tell a tale of an unforeseen incident that flipped my life upside down and had a significant influence on his family. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button so I can keep bringing you more fascinating true stories like this one, and stick around until the end. Trust me. You don't want to miss how this story unfolds. Noah and I have always had a solid friendship, but I've got to admit, I've always felt a certain pull toward his mom, Emma. There's just something about her. She radiates warmth and positivity, and her energy is downright magnetic. Whenever I visited their house, I often found myself chatting with her more than Noah. She's easy to talk to, always laughs at my jokes, and honestly, she's stunning. It wasn't something I ever planned to dwell on, but I couldn't deny how captivating she was. One day I had a free afternoon and decided to swing by Noah's place unannounced, thinking it'd be a fun surprise without overthinking. I grabbed my keys and drove over. When I got there, Noah wasn't home, but Emma opened the door, looking a little surprised, but welcoming as always. "Well, this is unexpected," she said, with a warm smile and a soft laugh. "Noah didn't tell me you were coming." She stepped aside, inviting me in her usual glow, making the moment feel comfortable, yet strangely different. Little did I know that visit would change everything. I smiled and rubbed the back of my neck, trying to play it cool. "I thought I'd surprise him." I replied. She laughed and stepped aside. "Well, he's not here, but you're welcome to stay until he gets back." Just then, a heavy rainstorm started pouring down, suddenly making it impossible to leave. Emma glanced out the window, raised an eyebrow, and turned back to me. "You're definitely not going anywhere in this weather," she said, her smile widening. "Looks like you'll have to stay a little longer." I nodded. Secretly happy for the excuse to stay, she led me to the living room, and we settled in the sound of the rain, created a quiet, intimate atmosphere as we sat and chatted. I couldn't help but admire her presence more and more. Emma offered me a warm cup of tea as the rain beat against the windows. Sitting there in the cozy living room, we talked about work life, and of course a little about Noah. Her laughter was soft and inviting, making me feel right at home. Every so often our eyes would meet, lingering a little longer than usual, and I felt a subtle spark between us as we spoke. She leaned back in her chair, casually crossing her legs. I couldn't help but notice her grace, confident posture. She was 50, yes, but there was something timeless about her. Her energy, her smile. It all felt so youthful. I tried to hide my admiration, but I think she noticed because her eyes twinkled with amusement every time I glanced her way. "So, Ethan?" she said, with a playful smirk, interrupting my thoughts. "You seem awfully quiet tonight. Something on your mind caught off guard." I stammered, chuckling nervously. "I guess I just didn't expect to be here like this. Just the two of us." She tilted her head, her gaze warm and teasing well. "It's a nice surprise," she said softly. "Noah's not around much these days, and it's good to have some company." Her words were casual, but there was something in her tone that made my heart race. We continued talking, and eventually the conversation turned more personal. She shared stories about her youth dreams she once had, and how her life had changed over the years. I found myself completely captivated, hanging on every word. As the hours passed, the storm outside grew stronger, showing no sign of letting up. Emma glanced at the clock, then back at me with a thoughtful smile. "Looks like the weather won't clear up anytime soon," she said. "It's really coming down out there." I nodded, glancing out the window at the torrential rain. "Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to make it home tonight." She nodded, her voice soft and understanding. "Well, you're welcome to stay here if you want. Noah's room is just down the hall." I smiled, grateful but also aware of the thrill bubbling inside me. "Thanks, Emma. I'd really appreciate it." She disappeared for a moment and returned with extra blankets, placing them on the couch beside me. Our hands brushed as she handed them over, and I felt a surge of warmth spread through me, making me look up at her. She held my gaze, her expression soft and inviting, and for a moment, everything outside seemed to fade away. "You know," she said softly, almost a whisper, "I've always thought you were a charming young man, and now that you're here, it's been really nice talking, just the two of us." My heart raced. "I feel the same way." "Emma," I replied. The air between us was thick with unspoken feelings. He looked at me, her eyes searching mine, and then slowly, she leaned closer. I felt her warmth, the soft scent of her perfume, filling the space between us. I knew in that moment that this was a moment I'd never forget. She held my gaze a moment longer, and I saw the warmth in her eyes. Then, without breaking eye contact, she reached over and brushed a loose strand of hair from my forehead, her fingers lingering longer than necessary. My breath cut as her touch sent a thrill through me, and I instinctively leaned into her hand. "Ethan," she whispered softly, almost a sigh, "you're really something." The words lingered in the air, and in that moment, I couldn't hold back anymore. Moving closer, I gently took her hand in mine. Her skin was warm and soft, and she didn't pull away instead. She leaned in her lips, parting slightly as if inviting me to come closer with my heart racing. I leaned forward and brushed my lips against hers. Tentatively at first, she responded, her kiss tender and warm, her hand resting gently on my cheek. We paused for a moment, and when our eyes met again, there was no hesitation between us. I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her closer, as our kiss deepened into a passion that had been building all evening. She sighed softly against my lips, her hand moving to the back of my neck, pulling me in as if she too had been waiting for this. Her touch sent a jolt through me, and I couldn't help but let my fingers trace the curve of her waist, feeling her warmth beneath my touch. Slowly she pulled back, her eyes gleaming with a playful glint. "You know," she whispered, "I never thought this would happen, but now, well, I guess we both know where this is going." I smiled and nodded. "I'm glad it is." The rain continued to pour outside, but inside everything felt warm and close. She leaned back into the couch, pulling me with her, and I wrapped my arms around her, holding her close. Her fingers traced patterns along my back, each touched, sparking new warmth between us. Our lips met again, this time deeper, more intimate. Her hands explored her warmth, inviting me as if she had been waiting for this moment, just as much as I had. Her fingers slid down my arms, her torchlight and teasing, and I couldn't help but smile against her lips. She looked at me with the same warmth in her eyes, her fingers resting against my chest, as if feeling my heart race beneath her touch. I leaned down, kissing her neck, letting my lips linger as I felt her shiver against me. Each moment felt timeless, and I lost myself in the warmth of her embrace, our hearts beating together. As the rain poured down outside, she sighed softly, arching slightly so my hand could find the curve of her waist, a perfect fit beneath my touch. Encouraged by her response, I let my hand slide slowly, tracing the outline of her back. She let out a soft whisper, her hand resting on my shoulder, drawing me closer. Her warmth surrounded me, and the sensation was magnetic. I could not help but bend down and brush my lips on the side of her neck, savoring the softness of her skin and the way she shivered, tilting her head to the side to invite me further. I pressed against her slowly, making her respond more intensely, and slowly tried to slip my hands inside her sweater. It felt amazing to feel her softness, and it made me more energized. I couldn't hold back any longer to explore her more. Our eyes locked, and there was a shared understanding between us. I leaned in again, kissing her, deeply savoring each moment. My hand found her hip, and I felt her pulse quicken beneath my touch. She seemed to relax completely against me, her body molding to mine. As I held her close, every touch now felt more natural, more connected. She looked at me, her eyes warm, full of emotions. We couldn't quite breathe. Then with a soft smile, she leaned back into the couch, guiding my hand to her shoulder. Her fingers lagged through mine. I let my other hand slide down her leg, feeling the warmth beneath my palm as I stroked her thighs softly. The closeness between us was undeniable, and our kisses slowed, savoring each moment as our connection deepened, making me lose track of everything but the feeling of her in my arms. As we pulled apart, breathless and dazed, the world outside had transformed. The rain continued to pour, casting a muted ambiance that wrapped us in our own little world. I could see the flush in her cheeks, the way her lips glistened from our kisses, igniting a spark of desire deep within me. I had never felt anything like it. A primal connection that drew me closer to her, urging me to explore further. Maybe we should move this somewhere more comfortable, she suggested, her voice low and inviting, laced with mischief. I could only nod. A rush of exhilaration swept over me. As she led me down the dimly lit hallway toward her bedroom, the door creaked open, revealing a space that felt both intimate and welcoming, softly lit by the warm glow of a lamp. The room was tastefully furnished, but it was her presence that truly brought it to life. She turned to face me, her gaze steady and charged with energy. The air between us was thick with anticipation. As the door clicked shut behind us, I stepped closer, drawn to her like a moth to a flame. My heart raised. As she took a step toward me, I reached for her hand, intertwining our fingers. The warmth of her skin sent something electric through me with a gentle tug. I pulled her closer, my other hand brushing against her waist. Feeling the softness of her body against mine, she looked up at me, her eyes sparkling with desire and mischief, and I felt my resolve slip away as I leaned down, capturing her lips once more. The kiss deepened, becoming more urgent as I pulled her against me, our bodies fitting together perfectly. I could feel her warmth radiating into me, each kiss sending electric waves through my veins. Her hands roamed up my arms, tracing the muscles before tangling in my hair, pulling me closer and urging me to explore further. As I broke the kiss, I looked into her eyes, seeing the reflection of the heat and passion we'd ignited in each other. I pressed my forehead against hers, savoring the moment, feeling both exhilarated and vulnerable. "Are you sure about this?" I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. Her answer came in the form of a soft smile, and she nodded, her eyes locking with mine. "I've never been more sure of anything," she replied, her voice steady and full of warmth. With that affirmation, I leaned down again, capturing her lips. This time I stepped back gently, guiding her onto the bed. The mattress felt soft and inviting, and as she sank into it, I hovered over her, the anticipation in the air palpable. I took my time letting my lips trail along her neck, kissing softly along her collarbone, savoring every moment as I felt her body shiver beneath my touch. Her fingers danced along my back, urging me on as I explored her inch by tantalizing inch. She savored every gasp and moan that left her lips. I hesitated for a time, staring down at her. She stared at me with yearning and trust, and it stole my breath away. I leaned in closer. Our bodies were perfectly aligned. As I moved against her, my fingers stroked her thigh, a delicate but possessive motion that sent shivers down both of us. The rain continued to smash on the glass. I lost myself in her, the world outside, fading away. I moved with intensity, fueled by our connection. Every kiss, every touch exploring the depths of our desires. Our bodies moved in sync, lost in the rhythm of passion, and I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me. As each moment pulled us closer together, the night stretched on, filled with whispered laughter and gasps of pleasure. As we completely lost ourselves in each other, the boundaries of our friendship blurred, replaced by something deeper. Something wild and beautiful. I had never imagined the night could unfold like this, each moment bringing us closer, wrapping us in a cocoon of intimacy. Eventually, as exhaustion crept in, I lay beside her, my arm draped protectively around her shoulders. We were both panting, our breaths mingling as we took in the aftermath of our connection. I felt her fingers lightly tracing patterns on my chest, and I leaned down, kissing her forehead softly, savoring the warmth of her body against mine. Tonight was incredible. I murmured, my heart swelling with emotions I couldn't quite name. She turned toward me, a soft smile gracing her lips. It really was, she replied, her eyes sparkling with satisfaction and a hint of mischief. I think I could get used to this. As we drifted into a peaceful slumber, the rain outside began to lighten. But inside our hearts remained intertwined, forever changed by this unexpected night of passion. We lay entwined in each other's arms, basking in the afterglow, of our passion. The world outside slowly returned to normal. The rain had lightened, and the rhythmic patter against the window created a soothing background to our whispered conversations and soft laughter. Just as I was drifting off to sleep, the sharp ring of the doorbell jolted me awake. I froze, my heart racing. As I looked at her, I saw a combination of astonishment and dread in her eyes. The truth of the situation slammed down on us. Her son, my buddy, was home. Is that him? She started to speak barely above a whisper. Yeah, it's him, I replied, my mind racing. We quickly scrambled to straighten ourselves up, but the frantic rustling of sheets and clothing only added to the chaos. The doorbell rang again, more urgently, this time making my pulse quicken. Quick, hide. She urged, her eyes wide with urgency. I glanced around the room, desperately searching for a place to go without thinking. I dove into the closet, pressing myself against the wall, my heart pounding in my ears. I held my breath, straining to hear what was happening outside the bedroom. Mom, are you home? I heard my friend call out, his voice echoing through the house. I thought I'd find you here, he said. She opened the door to the living room, her demeanor shifting from flustered to composed. Yes, I'm here, she replied. Her voice steadied despite the chaos in her heart. I could see her through the back of the closet door, standing tall, her expression betraying nothing. I couldn't help but admire her poise in such a tense moment. Did you get caught in the storm? He asked. Stepping inside, completely unaware of the atmosphere in the house, I held my breath, wishing. I could see his face, wondering how much he sensed. Just a little shower, she replied, a hint of nervousness creeping into her voice. But I'm fine. How was your day? It was good. I was hoping we could hang out. I brought some snacks from the store, he said cheerfully. I couldn't help but chuckle, amused by the banality of his statements in comparison to the gravity of what had just occurred. Sure, just give me a minute, she answered, peeking back at the bedroom door as if detecting my presence. I held my breath, waiting to see what happened next. Would she welcome him inside? Will he detect anything amiss? I'll be right there, she said, turning away from the door and heading back toward me. I could see the resolve in her eyes, a determination not to let this moment slip away. Quick, get dressed, she whispered urgently, her heart racing just as fast as mine. I hurried to get dressed, trying to calm the storm of thoughts swirling in my mind. From the living room, I could hear my friend rustling through. Oh, bags. His movement steady, a reminder of the reality waiting outside. Do you think he knows? I asked softly, my voice betraying the panic I was trying to suppress. No, he can't, she replied. Her lip caught between her teeth, a mix of exhilaration and nervousness in her expression. Just act normal. We'll figure it out with one last look. We silently prepared ourselves to face what came next. I stepped out of the closet, my heart still hammering, and joined her in the living room. My friend turned to us, grinning broadly. There you are. I was starting to think you were hiding from me, he joked. I was completely unconscious of the lingering tension in the air. She replied elegantly, throwing a meaningful look at me as she was just cleaning up. As the evening progressed, laughing filled the room, masking the undercurrent of unsaid truths between us. My heart remained restless, the memories of our shared times still vivid, in my head. We had not anticipated the tricky dance between friendship and a budding attachment. But sitting there among the warmth of friendship and the excitement of what had just happened, one thing was plain. This was the beginning of something complex and meaningful, a narrative none of us could have imagined.